think that might be it. I don't have an ink ribbon. I need an ink ribbon. Tell a history story. All right, let me go back to the safe zone. Hold on. All right. All right. Would you rather hear about? Oh, let me mute this. Let me go to my story stance. All right. At least it wasn't mythology. It's true. Okay. Would you rather hear about Clement V and Avignon, the Western Schism, or the time Caligula declared war on Poseidon? The Western Schism was the time of three popes, also known as the time when there were three popes and they each excommunicated each other. Avignon. Okay, so Avignon was a French city. It was basically the Las Vegas of the Middle Ages. Oh, the Western Schism. Okay, the Western Schism is and Avignon are kind of tied together, but we can talk about it. So basically, it was around 70 years after the papal court was moved to Avignon. The last Avignon pope, Pope Gregor the 11th, moves the papacy back to Rome in 1377. This was towards the end of his life. He was kind of like more of a staunch Catholic, where most of the Avignon popes were pretty like corrupt, like even by Catholic standards. He actually kind of died, like not even, I don't even think it was a year later. I'd have to look it up. The Roman populace though was super salty about there not being a Roman pope, or at least an Italian pope, for the last 70 years, because like all 6 popes that ruled in Avignon were French, and up until this point all of the popes were from Rome and Italian, so like people were pissed. So as what happens when the Pope dies is you get a group of the senior cardinals together, and they vote from amongst themselves. So they elect Urban the Sixth in 1378, who proved to be very against the extra powers and excess that the cardinals had built for themselves during Avignon's reign. Because, like I said, the Avignon popes were very corrupt. They were known as the horny popes and the sinful popes. Like that's a whole other thing. But so the College of Cardinals kind of ran with it, and they built themselves all these extra powers outside of the Pope during the reign of the Avignon popes. So 3-ish months into Urban's reign, the Cardinals split. There was a massive group that moved to Agagni and proclaimed Urban VI to be a false pope, because these were all the corrupt cardinals that really wanted to keep the powers they had built for themselves. And he basically their whole thought was, or their whole argument was, Urban was elected under the fear. We thought the populace was going to revolt against us, so we elected a guy who wasn't really qualified for the job, but he was Italian and he was from Rome, and that's what they wanted. So they decide we're gonna elect another one. We're gonna elect Robert of Geneva. So Robert, who was from Geneva, was one of the like senior leaders of these corrupt cardinals, and he was known as a real actual dick. What I don't know if you guys know, when a pope takes office, they abandon their original name and they take a papal name. So he takes Clement VII. There happened to actually be another Clement VII later, and he's actually the one who allowed Henry VIII to behead his wife and found the Church of England. Robert is officially known as an anti-pope, and actually all of the popes in this story, except the ones that were elected by the College of Cardinals in Rome, are considered anti-popes because they are from splinter factions. So both popes then declare each other illegitimate and a heretic. Big bad news, especially during this time period. We're talking the late 1300s, early 1400s here, right? So the church, it literally just splits straight down the center. There's brawls constantly. The two sides are constantly arguing each other. Like to say things are tense is a massive understatement. And this is literally something that shakes up the whole world. Like at this point, there was like Europe was predominantly Christian, and there were a few Orthodox faiths, like, you know, we like Russian Orthodox had started to come around and stuff like that, but overall they were all Catholic. So this is literally splitting Europe in half. And and it's just a whole nightmare. And the popes are just constantly stirring things up. They're like, oh, you need to go beat their asses. They're against us. They don't believe in this. So, and it goes on. It goes on for a long time. So tons of people are trying to fix things, and eventually the University of Paris suggests they both resign and they hold a new election, and they even form a tribunal, or even forming a tribunal instead of electing a senior pope. Like, hey guys, this all started because the cardinals are kind of pissy. Why don't you guys just like form a true governing body and there's not one ruler? Which is, you know, heretical in its own sense, but this is the College of Paris. Incidentally, also one of the reasons why the Catholic Church started to be against like sciences and stuff was because of this decision. Anyway, so we're now in 1409. It's literally 31 years later from the time that everything starts. Cardinals on both sides of the fight, some who weren't even born or in the priesthood yet when everything started, formed the Council of Pisa because they're just sick of this shit. So they all meet at Pisa. They all decide, all right, look, we need to stop this. This is bad. This is bad for business and all this. Somehow, this group of idiots comes to the conclusion the best way to stop a fight between two popes is to have a third pope. Because, you know, there's two sides. What if we had three sides? So we now enter Alexander V, who died literally not a year after his election by the Council of Pisa and was succeeded by John the 23rd. By this point, Clement VII had passed away. He actually died in 1394, I believe. I have to look that up. He was succeeded by Benedict XIII. The Roman, that's the Avignon side. That's the breakaway splinter faction. On the Roman side, we had gone through three popes because, you know, you're generally not elected to the papacy until you're like well into your 60s or 70s. So like these guys don't normally have a pretty long life expectancy. So Pope Urban VI died in, he died before Clement. I think it was 1389. And he actually died because he fell off a mule. Like literally, he literally fell off. Was riding to a meeting and fell off a mule and slammed his head into the ground. And when they went to pick him back up, the mule kicked him and killed him. I'm not even making that up. 100% true. We got to, from him, we got Boniface IX, who passed away in who was elected in passed away in 1408. And then we got Innocent VII, who passed away in 1406. That I know about because he has other stories about him. So anyway, John gets threatened, or back up. I mean, I'm skipping ahead. Both of the popes declare the Council of Pisa's pope a heretic. But this one had more of a backing. So enters Sigismund, the Holy Roman Emperor of the time, who, if you don't know, Sigismund is an absolute badass and was like one of the greatest rulers of the era. Like literally, this man could cow anyone. He made peace treaties with the Vikings that people weren't even willing to talk to. So Sigismund goes, all right, look, we need to stop this shit because like this is bad. I'm losing, you know, I'm losing valuable resources, valuable manpower and stuff because of your guys bickering. I'm a back John. So this happens in 1414, and he forms the Council of Constance. There were a few other reasons for the council, but this is one of the primary ones. He did form it to also discuss taxes. He formed it to discuss trade. It was actually a mercantile council that also happened to have the ruling bodies of the various sub states of the the Holy Roman Empire on it. So real quickly though, the Roman people pop up and go, all right, John, look, because John didn't have the best life before. He had a lot of little things that would have disqualified him from the papacy on a normal day. I'm not 100% sure what those things are. I do know there's a mention of adultery, which popes are supposed to, or priests are supposed to be celibate to begin with. But basically they're like, all right, look, we're going to spill all your dirty laundry if you don't just back down. And so while faced with this, John goes, all right, cool. Well, why don't all three of us resign and like we help elect someone and we all agree on, we agree. Well, of course, the other two don't like this. So John, kind of fearing for his life after what happened, runs, just flees into the night. Everyone else is pretty much about to give up and leave as well and continue as usual. And Sigismund invokes this law that the Holy Roman Empire had. And it was basically a law of no faith in the government, because the Holy Roman Empire had the ruling bodies were literally the Pope and the Emperor's family. Like, that's how it worked. So the Emperor was allowed to, in times of great need, supersede the church and become the ruling council of Europe. So Sigismund goes, all right, you're all fucking idiots. My turn. He then sends his own royal guard. They catch John like 2 towns over. Dude did not make it far. And he sits them all down and he goes, looks at John and goes, you're abdicating, because honestly, you just did something incredibly shameful to begin with. So you're gone. Greg, I need you to talk about it. Gregory goes, all right, he's the Roman Pope at the time, remember that. He goes, all right, cool. Look, as long as the other one will agree, I will step down to secure the Roman line like everyone wants originally. Well, Benedict, the Avignon Pope, who is one of the corrupt popes, literally laughs in Sigismund's face. He's like, no, screw you. I'm the Pope. You're not allowed to say no to me. And Sigismund, of course, he just basically tells Sigismund to go suck it and returns to Avignon. Sigismund then declares that the Benedict line is heretics. They're false. And because Sigismund invoked this law and declares it, everyone agrees with him, because they kind of have to. It's the law. It's literally, if the Holy Roman Empire says so, or Holy Roman Emperor says so, after decreeing a no faith law in the papacy, then his word is the word of God. So he tells the Avignon popes to, basically, all right, cool. This whole line, you don't have to listen to him. So they end up controlling just a small kingdom, which is the kingdom Avignon actually was in, and it was literally called the Kingdom of Aragon. I'm not kidding. Aragon, like from Lord of the Rings, Aragon. It was the name of the small French kingdom that Avignon was in. That was also a part of the Holy Roman Empire. So Benedict and the Avignon line flee back there, and everyone stops recognizing them. Pope Martin V was elected to replace Pope Greg. And Avignon claims to be the rightful seat of the papacy until it was 1430? It's somewhere between 1429 and 1431. I cannot remember exactly offhand. But Rome, and during that time, that year, Rome and the Kingdom of Aragon actually reached an agreement where Aragon stops recognizing the Avignon popes, and they're actually excommunicated from the church. The actual papacy line from Avignon after the election of Pope Urban is completely recognized as heretical to even like teach about them. So that's super fun. Well, probably not to teach about them, but it was for a while. You weren't supposed to talk about them or anything, because like people weren't supposed to know you were allowed to do that. Anyway, yeah, that's the time, the Western Schism, the time of 3 popes. It gets a lot deeper once you read into a lot of other things about it, but that's like the brief overview. So, all right, let me jump back to the game here. See, those are the stories I like to tell, because that's like actually my focus. Like my college degree is focused in that area. You're welcome, Fen. It's like, yeah, okay, I have anthropological religion, but like the actual focus was more on the history and folklores of the areas.